Well, I'm delighted to welcome Ethan Barhydt. Ethan is the CEO of Voiceops, building AI co-workers for sales and marketing. Ethan, great to have you on today's plugged in episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
How's 2025 been for you? What's been the general consensus for you? You know, we're already near the end of February, which is bonkers.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great year. There was this article that Sam Altman wrote where he said 2025 is the year of AI coworkers. And and that's how we feel too. So, for us, like, or for me, it's just been like, okay, this is something really special is happening in technology, and this is the year to go like go grab it, go reach
Yeah.
for it. So yeah, it's been a yeah, we're just doubling down on making this thing happen and figuring it out in 2025. This is the year.
Great. Ethan, it sounds like I could probably ask you any question and somehow you would bring AI to the answer. Clearly something that you really love and passionate about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I built my first AI model in college, and it was, it didn't work so well. This was like 15 years ago. And then I started my first AI business in 2016, and it was interesting because the 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 techniques just weren't nearly what they were today. So in my first business, we ended up having to build like a data labeling team of like 1,000 people to accomplish what now you can accomplish with a prompt in ChatGPT. So it just feels like you could see that this was coming for a long time, and now it feels like the moment's arrived. And that's exciting.
Yeah. So let's start then. What is VoiceOps? You're the CEO of VoiceOps, but what is it?
So yeah, so we build AI coworkers for sales and marketing teams. What that means is basically our AI is like reading and reviewing all the customer interactions that a company is having. So like a company that, let's say, sells insurance might be having millions of interactions with customers every month. And the question is, what are they doing with all that? There's a lot of information in those conversations. What are customers wanting? What are they happy about, unhappy about? How did they hear about you? How well are we running the sales process? Where's the risk in our business? And all of that information typically is just kind of locked in there. And so what we try to do is have the AI understand all those customer interactions and then start to go improve the business on its own. So we'll figure out, hey, here's a place where this sales rep has found a way to overcome this objection that others haven't, and it can start to share that information with the rest of the organization. So it's sort of democratizing the learning from the bottom up instead of your traditional kind of corporate learning. Hey, we're gonna have quarterly trainings and we're gonna, coach you once a week and we're gonna have performance reviews. This is sort of like, let's make every business a really fast learning machine. And let's do it by understanding all the customer interactions and then having this AI go out and actually go make recommendations to the team and go solve business problems on its own.
So it sounds very sophisticated and comprehensive, and it seems like the software you've built is really in the essence and energy of prevention is better than cure. So it's not just responding to problems, but it's then providing solutions so those problems then don't exist.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's an interesting stat that like um uh sales teams tend to understand how competitors are changing their offerings about 6 months before the competitor actually makes it public.
Hmm.
So you probably want to know that information as soon as possible. And if you're looking at the calls, you can understand how your competitors are changing and you can act proactively to go adjust your own offerings or how you're positioning in the market. Um, so yeah, I think businesses are just going to start moving a lot faster and learning. And I care a lot about learning. Like I care about it personally, and I care about it as business. As a business should always be learning as fast as it can,
Yeah.
uh, especially in startup world, but in any company. So yeah, I want to help businesses learn as fast as humanly possible, as fast as AI possible.
And Ethan, at what point did you realize that sales coaching was broken? Uh, and then how did you know that voice ops could then fix it?
Um, well, I learned about it first when I've had one job in my adult life for 4 months, and then I realized I was not a corporate man. But I in that time in the I was just out of college, and I um was working at a company in New York and watching their sales team, uh basically their sales managers struggle with, like, okay, we have all these salespeople, how do we figure out what's happening in these calls and make them better? And there are always these like very large performance gaps in sales teams. If you ever run a sales, anyone who's run a sales team knows that, like, your top 20% are bringing in 50% of the revenue or something like that. It's kind of crazy. Um, so I saw it there, and it was just around the time that it started to look like transcription was going to become very good. Like the first AI models for transcription were coming out, and it was just a step above what people had seen before. So you could kind of tell that there was something happening around like AI and language and natural language processing, um and so I got really excited about, okay, if transcription's getting good, once you have all these calls recorded and transcribed, what can you do with it? And one of those core pain points is like, how can you help sales managers figure out what they need to focus on their day to level up their team?
Yeah. Oh, and what do you feel is the greatest sales challenge that Voiceops is currently solving right now? Is there one particular problem that you're really seeing that's being solved right now with your technology?
Hmm. Well, I think one really interesting problem, there's a whole bunch of problems, but one of the interesting ones um, is there's this kind of human judgment piece where, it's often the case that if a sales rep gets feedback from their manager, there will be there will be some tension there. It'll be like, well, you only looked at my one call, or the rep might be scared to ask a question because they don't want to come off as defensive, or if they do ask the question, the manager might perceive them as being argumentative, or they might just stop asking questions altogether because it's just too scary to learn that way. There's a bunch of kind of like almost it's not quite office politics, but like um there's a bunch of scary interpersonal things that happen that make it hard for people to improve and take feedback. What we've seen is that people like to take feedback from AI, because an AI is infinitely patient. An AI is always there for you, like can be accessed at any time. An AI has probably more context than a manager because they have all the data from all your calls of all in all history. Um, so I think there's an interesting, we didn't set out to solve the problem of kind of human, like how humans perceive feedback and feel judged and all that, but I think there is a way in which AI helps people feel ease and learn, and therefore learn faster.
Mm.
And I was even talking with, I think a lot of people are experiencing this in their personal lives right now, where they might go to ChatGPT and start talking about a problem they're having. And it's sort of nice to be able to go to a non-judgmental third party and sort of chat about your problems. I think that same thing is happening in the business world.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I've noticed that. I've been seeing where people have been going to chat GBT and basically saying, roast me. Uh like ro so if you've not done it, Ethan, you should totally do it and say put into chat GBT, roast me, and it is quite hilarious how brutally honest, but yet we're not being affected by it because it isn't one individual person like AI, because you can't physically attribute it because it's an entity on its own. It's not personal. It just
Yeah.
picks up on what you fed it and what it knows from the internet, and then can
Yeah.
literally will roast your nuts basically.
I get roasted enough in my day-to-day that I don't need AI for that. But yeah, totally. I like there's something that feels safe about talking to an AI and even getting feedback from an AI. Kind of interesting. I mean,
Interesting.
I still think interpersonal human connection that matters a lot. So it's not so much a replacement as a supplement, but yeah.
Yeah. I guess maybe if you're used to getting roasted, maybe you should just ask AI to write you a love letter. That might be better.
I have literally done this. I was working on something and I fed it. I was like feeling kind of down about the thing I was working on. It was actually like an art project. Um, and I fed it like the thing I had written and I said, please compliment me. And I just had it give me compliments.
Hilarious. Hilarious. I did see that. I did see somebody put a post that said, I should I be worried that AI or ChatGPT is now my new therapist, which I thought was quite funny.
Hey, it's gonna happen. It's coming.
So I came across this I don't probably not an idea, but a word that you've used called Moneyball. And I wanted
Mm.
you to share maybe a specific story of where you explain Moneyball for every customer conversation, and what have you seen that's taken like an average company to elite levels through this idea of Moneyball for every customer conversation?
Um, I think I think companies are hungry for as many statistics as possible about the performance of their team, like a sports team would be. And um, what what the AI is able to do is it can break down a person's stats across thousands of their calls and figure out, okay, like, you know, on 17.3% of their calls, they're asking this question in this way, and it doesn't seem to be working. And then on 3% of calls, this thing happens and it's magical and it's like it works every time, but it doesn't happen very often. And you can start to see these stats across a rep, a team, a floor. Um, and once people have, you can even start to correlate that stuff to outcomes and figure out, okay, um, you can get pretty robust data about here's like the things that are working. And it's really fun when you start to see what are the long tail of things that only certain reps are doing that seem to be working, and then you can spread that stuff across the floor. And so what happens is once you have that data, it empowers everyone on the team, reps and managers to go start to change people's behavior. And the AI itself can go coach a rep to change their behavior. So we've seen some insane statistics or insane results from this. Um, we have a company that where their conversion rate went from 17% to 30%. And that's about an 80% increase in conversion, which is for them millions of dollars. That is unbelievable. That is taking a team from an average performing team to an elite level team, and it changes the economics. If you can bend the trajectory of the conversion rate that much, it changes the economics of business, right? Not only that, you get all these knock-on effects. Like they also saw their attrition go down from 150% a year to 8% a year. Why? Because people are performing better, and so they want to stay longer. They're making more money. So, um, yeah. So once you have this data and you can enact it, which you can do through a combination of AI directly to reps and also managers to reps, uh, you can really bend. I like to think about bending the trajectory of a company. Like how do it's going like this, and what are the interventions you can do with AI and with data to make it start, to bend it into more of a hockey stick kind of curve.
Yeah, that is fascinating. I mean, I think that the certain principles of AI where people are really on board. I think stats is one of them. I agree with you. Who doesn't like stats? I mean, I love stats on my Fitbit, how well I'm sleeping, my heart rate, all that good stuff. And then obviously, when it comes to money, like businesses, without keeping an eye on stats and performance, you're not going to be in business long. I think the resistance is probably more on some of the stuff we talked earlier about that desire or that need for human connection.
Yeah.
What what would you say has been your hardest challenge in creating voice ops and in how you operate now?
Um, I mean, starting a business, as I think you know, is really hard. Uh, and I actually think my hardest challenge has been myself. Like, uh, you know, when I started my first business, there were a whole bunch of ways in which I was not a very good founder, and desperately trying to prove something to a bunch of people and did it in all the wrong ways. Uh, and so for me, the journey, the founder journey has been how do I learn to lead with my heart and to trust myself and um, attract, well, and in doing so, attract the kinds of people that are also leading with their heart and trusting themselves. And that's been, uh, you know, I was joking with my with a family member that like running a business, I've just had to face every possible insecurity and flaw of mine, you know. So that I think working on my, I mean, speaking of coach, like just to tie this back to what I'm doing for other companies, like working on myself, learning fast, um, taking as much feedback as possible, has been the most important thing for building, for getting the momentum in the business, and
Mm,
the rest is hard, but a lot easier when it's grounded in this. Yeah.
I like that. But it's great that you're able to be reflective of what needs work. And again, just like the very essence of your business that pinpoints opportunities for growth and solving
Yeah.
problems, you've also been doing that on a personal level. So,
Yeah.
what's next for Voiceops beyond sales?
Well, such an interesting time. I mean, like our next year is all about building these AI coworkers, and I think there's like a really interesting open question that nobody quite knows the answer to, which is what does it look like when you hire AI coworkers and you're collaborating with them? What exactly does that even mean? Is it just a clever marketing exercise, or is there something really deep? I think there's going to turn out to be some really deep uh, kind of workflow insights that people have about how do you actually collaborate with these folks. And there are a number of these efforts going on in engineering. There's not much in the sales and marketing world. So we want to be the AI coworker for sales and marketing. And uh, I think you'll start to see us take on more and more of the daily work that people don't want to do. We'll start to take on more and more of it. The organizations we work with will start to focus. First of all, there are people will get a lot more leverage in the like 10x, 100x leverage in the business. Um, and their focus will be more on managing AIs and interacting with each other. The person to person like relationships of it isn't going away, I don't think. Um, and then from there, I think the other interesting thing about AI right now is just, I mean, our product can do things today that weren't possible 4 weeks ago. You know, like the technology is moving so fast. Like literally the foundation model technology is moving so fast that like our product just couldn't have been the thing it is today 4 weeks ago because we didn't have the right technology for it. So, um, I think one of the other important things of being a business today is making a commitment to ourselves and to our customer that we're going to keep them on the frontier of AI, which means keeping an always open mind about, okay, like we have new information about what's possible. Now we have to sort of rethink or get even more ambitious about the product. So it's a really interesting time to be in business.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? 4 weeks and it's already doing things it couldn't from that time. That's
It's
wild.
weird.
It
It's
is really
weird.
wild.
Never experienced. I mean, nobody's experienced this, right? It's just like it's a technology at a pace that is new to everybody.
Absolutely. Ethan, how do people find out more about you and Voiceops?
Well, you can go to voiceops.com. That's just voiceops.com. Um, and feel free to email me, Ethan at voiceops.com. I'd love to hear from anyone that wants to chat. We are
Yeah.
hiring. We're trying to build a team of A plus players. So if you're an A plus player out there, come chat.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, let's inundate you with applicants
Please.
from all over the world. That would be fun.
Yes, please.
Ethan, thank you for joining me on today's Plugged In.
Thank you, Mark. This is great.